Yo, what's going on? Welcome back to Daily Football Zone. I'm your host, Keb. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at I Hate Keb. We got another somewhat busy day of free agency news and football talk, man. It's a Saturday. I thought I was going to have the day off. I was thinking, I would, be chilling doing what I want today, but other than football talk. But, I'm also glad to be back on here. We had two videos posted recently on our YouTube and Twitter. After a whole almost a year's worth of not posting any, it's been over a year since we posted on YouTube, but just in general posting on the Daily Football Zone Twitter and Instagram account. It's been over almost a year, so I missed talking about football. 2021 was kind of a rough year, but we back and better in 2022. We're now 3 days straight posting content on Daily Football Zone. So please, if you're checking this out, leave a like on the thumbs up on the videos, and also a subscribe button. Hit that, and feel free to share to all your friends and family and all that. We appreciate me specifically. I appreciate that. The rest of the Daily Football Zone crew once again wasn't able to join me on this. I also didn't invite them. I kind of wanted to save today's episode again for myself, but we can expect more video content in the future. I know we want to do mock drafts, because the 2022 NFL drafts around the corner, so you can expect more mock drafts in the coming up, where we can have hopefully all of us on and be able to speak on that and just other NFL talk as well. But main reason why I came on today is because we had some breaking news. I'll jump into it. Probably I guess you could say the biggest news as of right now, because it just happened maybe 20 minutes ago, and that's the Rams giving Matthew Stafford a contract extension. I got the numbers for y'all real quick. They're giving him a 4-year, $160 million contract extension with $135 million guaranteed. I mean, I guess it's well deserved. I got a picture of his stats right here. He threw for over 4,800 yards, which was the third most. 41 touchdowns, which was the second most. And but also comes with throwing so much comes with a lot of turnovers as well at times. And he threw 17 interceptions, which was tied for first. Not the worst number in the world. He could have threw 30 interceptions like Jameis Winston a couple seasons ago. But I guess it's worth it when you're taking your team to the Super Bowl in his first season in LA. Won it in LA, so I guess you could say it's well deserved. After spending a decade in Detroit and not accomplishing much there, I guess it's worth it. They got their guy. A lot of people probably didn't know Matthew Stafford. I'm not gonna say he's the fucking best quarterback in the league. Obviously not, but you gotta give him the credit. But also you can make the argument that he did have a lot of help, which he didn't have in Detroit, except for having Calvin Johnson. But he never really had a run game. They somewhat had a decent run game this year. They with Henderson, and eventually Akers came back after tearing an Achilles, and then they also traded for Sony Michel. So he had somewhat help in the backfield. But when you have Cooper Kupp putting up the Triple Crown, you eventually sign OBJ. It sucks that you lost Robert Woods once OBJ came in the building, but you still had Robert Woods for some time, and then you replaced that with OBJ, who ended up tearing his ACL in the Super Bowl in the beginning. It looked like he was going to have a big game. Scored off the bat. Unfortunate, but you have the top 5 defense as well, with Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. You have two of the top players at their position on the same defense. I guess you can make that argument that Matthew Stafford, I'm not gonna say he was carried, obviously, because he's still putting up the numbers. If he wasn't putting up the numbers, I would say definitely he was carried, like a Jimmy Garoppolo situation, where Jimmy Garoppolo didn't take that team to the Super Bowl, even though they ultimately lost it. But they still ended up going to the Super Bowl with San Francisco. But if Jimmy G, he played some success to that, but he was carried mainly by that run game and that defense. But this is a different case for Matthew Stafford. I agree with the contract extension. I'm not surprised by it. Lock him in for another 4 years, give him the money, because he's gonna want it. Well deserved. The numbers for you is it's average of like $40 million a year, which is tied for 5th most with Dak Prescott. So he's not even getting top 3 paid. He's in the top 5. So well deserved for Matthew Stafford. He's a veteran in this game, been doing it for a while. He's always had the stats in Detroit, even though they play from behind. majority of the time anyway in Detroit, so that helped. But the front office for the Rams are smart. Giving up first round picks that aren't even guaranteed to be studs to get solidified players like Matthew Stafford, and then players like Jalen Ramsey. You trade for Von Miller. You signed OBJ. Cooper Kupp had a career year. He tore his ACL a couple years ago too, and I think that was the 2019 season, maybe 2020. So that was a couple years ago. But I always liked Cooper Kupp going back to Eastern Washington. Like he's a stud, and finally getting the recognition. Like a lot of people were like thinking like he came out of nowhere. Like he didn't come out of nowhere. He's been he's been doing his thing since coming into the league. Obviously, not like Devontae Adams type numbers, but man, he's always had pretty good seasons that when he's playing, like other than the year he tore his ACL, he's put up numbers. And then he also had to deal with Jared Goff, and I mean Jared Goff. I guess it helps for Jared Goff what type of receiver Cooper Kupp is when you do the quick short passes and all that. So obviously Jared Goff is Jared Goff, but it was a smart move by the Rams front office to trade for a guy like Matthew Stafford, who solidified in this game. That was pretty much I'd say a big reason also because you saw that they went to the Super Bowl against the Patriots, but obviously weren't able to do much on offense. And Jared Goff, they probably thought the quarterback position was holding them back, and they were just a solid quarterback away from actually being a Super Bowl team, which it went to show this year that that's what it was. And I'm sure they're looking to run it back, obviously, because there's obviously the speculation that Aaron Donald and Sean McVay would retire. But obviously, you saw at their parade that they're running it back. You bring in Allen Robinson, which most likely means OBJ is probably gone, which he's going to miss majority of the year anyway because he tore his ACL in February. It seems like players can heal healthier. Players can heal faster now. It seems like you saw it with Cam Akers tearing his Achilles and was able to return before the season ended, obviously. So, good for Akers to be able to play in the Super Bowl after suffering that unfortunate Achilles tear. And I think it was August. Like it was right around fantasy football time where you're doing your fantasy drafts and all that. So, maybe OBJ can somewhat come back from an ACL sometime a little bit quicker because I think it's like about a year to heal, like about 9 to 12 months, maybe a little bit longer. It really just depends. But with the medicine they be given and I guess the treatments, maybe I'm not no doctor or nothing, but maybe it's been able to make people heal faster. So hopefully we can see OBJ back on the field if it's for the Rams or for a different team. Maybe Green Bay. Green Bay needs receivers now that Devontae Adams is gone, and I don't even know who they have now. Like Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb. Like they need talent, obviously, because Rodgers is is the highest paid quarterback, and he doesn't have his number one receiver no more. But we can get into more news. Cleveland's making moves at quarterback, and I'm not just talking about Deshaun Watson because that was yesterday news, and you can watch the video I put out yesterday about Deshaun Watson being traded to Cleveland. It's now official. I went over the trade, what was traded in that episode yesterday, but it's official, and he's now going to be part of the dog pound. And I'm sure some Cleveland fans are upset, depending of how you take the situation with his allegations. And I'm sure a lot are stoked that, you're finally getting an actual stud at quarterback, not to disrespect, Baker Mayfield, but, he's had his situations there. And, I'm sure they're going to ship him out somewhere. They haven't shipped him yet. Supposedly, yeah, Seattle has interest. I saw a rumor today that he wants to go to Indy, but Indy's not interested. I think I saw something saying Indy's not interested. I could be wrong, though. Don't quote me on that. I think he'd fit in Indianapolis. Also gave you kind of a dark horse. I think Carolina might make a move. I spoke on that on yesterday's episode. I hope not, but you never know. They need a quarterback because Sam Darnold is not the answer. Obviously, he's not the answer if they can give up. Well, they don't need Sam Darnold now, so if they can just give up ship Darnold somewhere else or do something with Darnold, and I'd be happy if it was a 5th round pick. But if it was like a first, definitely not the 6th overall pick. I do not want to give up the 6th overall pick for Baker Mayfield. I'd rather draft someone like Malik Willis, or if we can trade back a couple of spots and draft like Malik Willis, I'd be stoked for that, and then be able to get some draft capital because we don't have a 2nd or 3rd round pick. But yeah, also more news. Not just that. They traded Case Keenum, veteran quarterback Case Keenum, the Minnesota Miracle Case Keenum, to the Buffalo Bills for a 2022 seventh round pick. So pretty much, they're just, I guess they're cleaning house in their quarterback room, and I'm sure Buffalo wants a solid veteran to back up Josh Allen in case something happens with Allen, because he's a mobile quarterback and he takes the hits, so it's always safe to have that security back there. He's a solid veteran that's been in the league for a minute now. Mitch Trubisky left, so he's signed his 2-year deal in Pittsburgh. So I'm sure they're probably looking for a veteran instead of trying to draft one in the draft. They probably thought, might as well give up a 7th round pick for someone they want instead of picking up a free agent. If they want Case Keenum, 7th round pick is not horrible. I don't blame them for that. But then they also sign Mr. Jacoby Brissett. Speaking of the Colts, yeah, Jacoby Brissett is signing to Cleveland for 1 year. I don't have the numbers for that deal, but it was a 1-year deal that broke out about an hour ago. And now I kind of look at his stats, because he was with Indy for a minute. He was with Pittsburgh, not Pittsburgh. He was with New England, and then I think it was this last year that he was in Miami. And he had, he wasn't. I think he started a couple games, didn't he? I think he started a couple games when Tua was going, or was that the year before? The year before last year, when Tua was hurt, or going back and forth of who was starting. I think that was 2020. See, I I was gone majority of 2021. I wasn't really like in Football Zone, so like I can't even remember what year was what, but those were his numbers in 2021. I'm popping up PFF. I know a lot of people are high on PFF, a lot aren't. I'm just putting up his stats. They gave him a 76.3 overall grade for last year. What's it called? He threw 225 attempts, which I guess was 33rd in the league, and then threw for 1,283 yards, which was also 33rd in the league. 5 passing touchdowns, tied for 35th, and then 4 interceptions, which was also tied for 35th. So, man, obviously he's not going to be the starter when you got Deshaun Watson as your quarterback, but I'm sure they made that move in case Deshaun Watson does get traded. He's a solid not traded. If Deshaun Watson gets suspended, I'm sure they're keeping that in mind, that they can get a solid quarterback to replace him for, if it's 2 games, 4 games, half a year, 6 games, however long it's going to be. We really don't know if there's going to even be a suspension, but I'm sure they're bracing for that. So I don't blame. I get the signing, why they'd sign Jacoby Brissett to a 1-year deal when he's had experience at quarterback. He started some games for Miami, Indianapolis, and New England. Not a bad move, and looking forward to see what happens with Deshaun Watson. If he does get suspended, if he might play the whole year. It's really the NFL's court on that. It's their decision, and who knows when that's going to happen. But before we get into more free agency news, that's all I got to say with the Cleveland Browns. Curious to see where Baker Mayfield goes. If it's I don't see him staying in Cleveland. Obviously not. They're making moves at quarterback. They're trading away Keenum. They're signing Brissett. Mayfield's gone. Like 99.9%, he's gone. Like, obviously, with the whole situation, the drama there, they want an adult at quarterback, and Baker Mayfield posting pretty much a farewell post on Instagram and Twitter. He's gone. And now it's just, where is he gonna go? And now we're just obviously the anticipation is not like the Deshaun Watson news, but now we're gonna be sitting waiting for the Baker Mayfield alert that he's traded somewhere. And also, say me as a Panther fan, it's gonna be on my mind, because are the Panthers gonna make that move for him? Are we gonna give up which, if it is, what picks or players are we giving up for Baker Mayfield? Because again, we don't have a 2nd round pick, we don't have a 3rd round pick. I would be fine with a 3rd round pick. I wouldn't be fine with a 1st round pick. Neither a 2nd, because you gave up a 2nd for Sam Darnold, and that pissed me off. So I think 3rd, but we don't have that. But if we had a 3rd round pick, I wouldn't mind giving that up for Baker Mayfield. But ideally, if it was like a 5th round pick, I'd be cool with it. But I'm hoping that we go a different route, but I'm hoping we don't make that move for Baker Mayfield. But I guess I don't work the front office. Scott Fitter's been making moves, and I don't have any say in all that. But we can get into more NFL news. We can get into some NFL draft talk. David Ojabo, he suffered a torn Achilles at Michigan's Pro Day. So I went over yesterday how he got hurt and he had to get helped off the field after he was clutching his leg. Turns out to be a torn Achilles. It's unfortunate because he's expected to be a first round pick. Does he end up being in the first round? I'm not sure. He might fall to the second because he's gonna miss some time. He might, maybe not though, because you saw how Cam Akers is he tore his Achilles and was able to come back before the season's end. So he might maybe miss a couple games, but it's also a scary thing because if you return too soon, you can re-injure it, obviously. So it'll be curious to see if he falls out of the first round or maybe still stay at the same range what he's predicted. I'm not, he might be falling down on draft boards now. It really just depends on how teams view it. The draft's just around the corner. It's a month away. So kind of unfortunate. Not even kind of. It's really unfortunate that, he suffered a torn Achilles at his pro day. But, it's football. You deal with injuries and got to bounce back. Kind of, this unfortunate news coming out of Michigan's pro day. But yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say about that. We can now we got some free agency news, a couple of re-signings and a couple of actual teams doing some signings on this Saturday. Nothing too major. I can start off with the Falcons. They re-sign Cordero Patterson. I labeled him as a running back. You can call him whatever you want. Running a wide receiver, a special teamer. I even saw, I think Adam Schefter or someone on Twitter was calling him a slash safety as well. I think because he wanted to play safety at one point too. Because he's saying he can do whatever he wants. Pretty much he can do whatever they ask him to do. I also put up his PFF stats. He had a career year with Atlanta. Seems like he fit well there. PFF gave him an 82.2 grade. Had 153 carries. He also was splitting time with Mike Davis, who they signed from Carolina. He had 618 rushing yards, which is 29th. 6 rushing touchdowns, but he's a versatile player, also a very good special teams player. As you see, he was a 4-time first team All-Pro and a 3-time second team All-Pro, also a 4-time Pro Bowler. I don't have any contract details yet because he just agreed to terms. It's not an official signing just yet, but he'll probably have that done sometime within the week. I'm sure that news will come soon, but yeah, Cordero Patterson's back in Atlanta, which I'm sure Falcons fans are stoked after what happened with Deshaun Watson. I'm sure that'll cheer him up a little bit. Also, they signed Damian Williams officially yesterday, so you got more depth in the backfield. When you still got Mike Davis there too, but we'll see what happens if they decide to keep Mike Davis. He kind of had a disappointing year compared to 2020, which he kind of made some moves with Carolina with McCaffrey down. He kind of made a name for himself, but kind of a down year for Atlanta. Cordero Patterson took the spot mainly. When people thought it was going to be Mike Davis, but yeah, Patterson came on the scene and pretty much was that whole offense. Calvin Ridley's was gone last year. You saw what happened with that. He's gone this year too. And then Julio, we moved on from Julio Jones. Matt Ryan's not the same Matt Ryan, and who knows if how Matt Ryan feels about what happened and with the whole trade stuff. Like, do you stick with Matt Ryan now, or do you still try to trade him and with a whole new regime and go different at quarterback? I don't know. I think he stays. They pushed back his signing bonus, but I have a feeling they're going to give him it and he's going to stay because that's a tricky situation with this whole contract. I'm sure they don't want to eat up dead money and just stick with your veteran franchise player. But yeah, Falcons, they re-signed Cordero Patterson. Another re-signing around the league was the Green Bay Packers re-signed Rasul Douglas, and I'll put his PFF stats up there as well. He had a pretty good year for Green Bay. He only played 78. He's only been on the team for 78 days. I saw that stat. That's crazy. He had a 74.8 PFF grade. He had 50 solo tackles, which is all right. He's a cornerback. He had 5 picks though, which is tied for 4th. He was targeted 63 times and allowed 32 receptions. So pretty average. I'm sure Green Bay fans are stoked to bring him back. And then you get Jair Alexander back, so he's the number 1. Rasul Douglas will be your number 2. So I don't see Green Bay fans being mad at that. He had a pretty good year. Yeah, he signs a 3-year deal worth $21 million, and it's worth up to $25.5. I'm sure with incentives. That's according to Adam Schefter. But yeah, he's a veteran guy. He's bounced around the league. He's played for the Panthers back in 2020. Back in 2020, he was with the Panthers. He was with the Raiders earlier in the season and the Cardinals. and then he was also on the Texans, but eventually signed with Green Bay back in, I think it was October. Like his first game was against Chicago. But yeah, man, he's been on the team for like 78 days, and now he's getting big money. Obviously not big money, but decent money. Obviously, I mean, he got a 3-year deal worth up to $25 million. But yeah, he had career high of 5 interceptions. He had that game-saving interception against the Cardinals, which the Cardinals were like 8-0 on that Thursday night game. They're like 8 or 9-0. I remember that because they're going. My Panthers were playing Week 10 against the Cardinals, and I wanted them to be undefeated. I was wanting us to end their win streak, even though we did beat them. But I was wanting us to end it, not Green Bay. But yeah, he had that game-saving interception against the Cardinals on Kyler Murray. I think he was up against AJ Green on that pass. He also had 2 interceptions on Baker Mayfield on that Christmas Day game where they won by 2 points. It was like 24-22. Yeah, he picked off Baker Mayfield twice. So, always got to find a way to bring up Baker Mayfield. And it seems to be in a negative way. But yeah, I'm sure Packer fans, they're stoked. I mean, I wish he was still in Carolina, but we kind of don't really need him. Especially after last year, we pretty much had a lot of cornerback depth. And speaking of the Panthers, though, they re-signed cornerback Donte Jackson. And I know a lot of Panther fans because I'm, my personal Twitter account, I'm mainly a bunch of Panther fans. Like some people are stoked, some people are iffy about it. And some people are pretty much iffy because he's hot and he's cold. Like he has his ups and downs. And then some people might think that Stephon Gilmore is not going to come back, and I hope he does because I would love to see J.C. Horn with Stephon Gilmore. We didn't get to see that last year because Stephon Gilmore came like later in the year. I think it was like week 10, week 9, and J.C. Horn broke his foot on that Thursday night matchup against the Texans. So we didn't get to see much of J.C. Horn either, and I was stoked for that. I really liked the pick at. I mean, we could have went either way with Patrick Surtain or J.C. Horn. Horn was looking to be a stud too. But yeah, it was an unfortunate injury that knocked him out for the remainder of the year. While Patrick Surtain Jr. had a really good rookie year. But we get Donte Jackson back. 3 years, $35.1 million. He's averaging 11.7 a year. Not too bad. I'll take it. I'm not mad about the signing because obviously I don't want I don't want J.C. Horn and C.J. Henderson as our 1 and 2. I'd rather have I guess Henderson at the nickel and then Donte Jackson at 2. I hope we can get Stephon Gilmore back still, but I'm not sure if they are. I don't know. We didn't give up really much for the trade, but bring a local kid. I would like to see Stephon Gilmore back in Carolina. I hope so, but yeah, Donte Jackson, he was drafted in the second round of the 2018 NFL draft. Since 2018, the past 4 seasons, he's recorded 209 tackles, 1 sack, and 12 interceptions. He also had that interception return for 2 points against New Orleans on the Monday night game that we ultimately lost, I think, like 13-9. But that was like 100 and something yards that he returned that for. So I remember watching that. I was stoked for that. I was hoping, okay, that's the momentum we needed to win that game. But we ultimately lost that game. But that was a highlight of his career. But only thing also about Donte Jackson is that he hasn't played a 16 game season because last year was the first 17 game season. But he hasn't played a 16 game season since his rookie year. So injuries have been a concern with him. He had a groin injury last year that sent him to IR, and he played 12 games. So I mean that could be a concern is the injuries, but he's hot and cold. He has his moments, and then he showed a lot in the run game last year. Like he showed that he wasn't scared to tackle. He was actually making tackles. Like because beginning of his career seemed like he's not a big guy, so like. Especially go up against a guy like Derrick Henry, he's gonna run right through you. Donte Jackson's not gonna tackle Derrick Henry 1-on-1. So, but last year showed that he was willing to hit, lower the shoulder, and make them tackles. So, I'm glad we brought him back because again, I wouldn't be so happy if it was this J.C. Horn and C.J. Henderson, and then I guess we're getting Troy Pride back. And we cut AJ Boye. I didn't like that. I liked AJ Boye. If we didn't bring back Jackson, I definitely would want AJ Boye back. But that saved us like $3 million. So I mean, it didn't save us much, but it saved us, I guess, a couple million. And they thought they were gonna get Deshaun Watson, so it makes sense why they did that. If they don't bring back Gilmore, I wouldn't mind AJ Boye coming back. But Yeah, Donte Jackson is a Panther again for 3 more seasons. I already went over DJ Moore's contract extension on last night's episode, so go and check that out when you get a chance if you haven't already. Covered up, again, I covered the Deshaun Watson news, the DJ Moore news, the Juju Smith-Schuster news. You can expect, and again, you can expect more videos to come as free agency rolls along, and as soon as the draft comes, we're gonna have more mock drafts coming up, headed into the NFL draft in Las Vegas. I don't think I'm gonna be attending it. I wanted to back in 2020. I had everything set until COVID hit, but this year kind of approached quick, and I didn't plan for it. But we'll see. Maybe Mike, maybe me and a couple guys might come. Maybe the DFZ crew will be in Vegas for the NFL draft. We'll see though. But we got another re-signing that happened today, which was the Philadelphia Eagles re-signing defensive tackle Fletcher Cox. We went over this the past like 2 episodes that they released him, but he might be headed back to Philly. Just they wanted to get him on a cheaper deal, and maybe he wanted to test his market as well and see like what else was out there before committing back to Philly. I'm sure maybe played a part in it as well. But yeah, they gave him a 1-year deal worth $14 million, which Fletcher Cox been the heart of that defense for years since he came in the league in 2012. I think it was 2012. Yeah, 2012. He's only missed 5 games since 2012 as well, so he's been reliable for that Philly defensive line and that Philly defense in general. And he's a first-team All-Pro. He was a first-team All-Pro back in 2018, and then a 3-time second-team All-Pro in 2014, 2015, and 2017. So he hasn't been as dangerous as he was back in those times where he was being named first and second team All-Pro, but he's still a heart of that defense. He's still a key veteran and a key leader to that defense. And as a football fan, I'm glad that they were able to bring him back because they need that leadership on that defense, and it's a pretty young team too, so they need that key leadership and key veteran to gather the team on that defense. But yeah, that's pretty much all the signings. We got a couple of random signings. I'm just gonna talk about it real quick. But the Titans signed kicker Randy Bullock, who was a 5th-round pick back in 2012 by Houston. He's bounced around the league. This is like his 7th team that he's on, so I'm sure he's gonna be competing for the starting kicking job. But yeah, Randy Bullock is in Tennessee. So is Dontre Hilliard. He was re-signed by Tennessee. He rushed for 359 yards and 2 touchdowns while Derrick Henry is gone. I mean, he was also behind Dante Foreman, who was signed by Carolina. So I'm sure they want to keep him behind Derrick Henry this year. They might bring in another guy or might sign draft a backup. But yeah, they rushing for 359 yards in his absence. Bring a key guy back and probably get him for a decent deal, not to pay too much for a backup. And Raiders making more free agency moves. They're signing a veteran quarterback Garrett Gilbert, who he's bounced around the league as well. He's also played in the AAF or the Orlando Apollos, I think it was, for like those like 6 games that they played. He kind of made a name for himself in that league, though. He was kind of like one of the MVPs, I think. But yeah, he started a game for the Commanders last year in 2021. He lost the game, but he threw for like 194 yards, no picks, no touchdowns. So yeah, another key veteran. It kind of looks like Marcus Mariota is going to be on a new team next year after his 1-year stint in Las Vegas. I'm sure Raider fans would like to have him back, but it looks like he might just be out the door. Now Garrett Gilbert, he's the backup for Derek Carr. I'm sure he would like to throw passes to Devontae Adams, but that's Derek Carr's job to do. But yeah, that's pretty much what I got for y'all today for I guess you could say day 6 of free agency. It's Saturday, March 19th. Appreciate everybody that has tuned in to the past 2 episodes that we dropped, which was episode 12 and then the Deshaun Watson news plus DJ Moore contract extension, whatever you want to call that episode. It's a pretty long name, but I appreciate everybody that tunes in. Leave a like, leave some comments. Let me know how you feel about that contract extension. Let me know just about the video in general, how I'm doing, how what I'm talking about. Obviously, I want to get better with editing and being like the basic YouTuber that talks about football. Obviously, I'm not a computer tech guru. Like I'm just like putting these out off the rip. I'm just going with the flow, like just putting out what I got to talk about and just talking. Like I'm not editing out nothing. I'm just keeping it real with you and No, I appreciate all of you guys. We'll be live for episode 13 probably sometime next week. I still plan on putting out these videos when it comes to NFL news and content. Was running the Daily Football Zone website, but I stopped doing that. Article, like, a lot of people rather watch videos and listen these days than read an article, so I'm not gonna go that route no more. And it's gonna stick with putting out more YouTube videos, more NFL content. I threw in a couple more things for you. I shared screen stats, and I put up Matthew Stafford. Like, I'm getting better. I'm getting better with the editing and learning how to work the stream and all that. So yeah, look forward to more content in the future. Subscribe. Trying to grow the subscribers on here. We're at like 33 or so. But eventually, I want to. I'm thinking big. One day it's gonna get to hundreds, to thousands, to 100,000s. Who knows? But I'm trying to be big like the other YouTubers that are out there putting out content. So I can make this my job, and I can quit my 9 to 5. So yeah, this is gonna be on Spotify. Eventually, trying to get it out on Apple and Google Podcasts and Stitcher and all that. I have it uploaded through Anchor.fm. If you're familiar with podcasts, like, they post it for you. So as soon as I get more familiar with posting the podcast, hopefully I can get more platforms out there, more views. There's a lot of big goals I'm trying to reach for Daily Football Zone. Again, also for my other podcast, Pure Rap Podcast. I just did a video for that page, so that'll probably be posted tomorrow. So check that out, and check out all our old videos as well. I guess all our old videos is not really relevant because it's back from like 2020. But yeah, the past 2 videos we released, check them out, and I hope y'all have a great night, and thank you for tuning in. Again, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Y'all have a great night, and be safe, and looking forward to seeing y'all on the next episode.